Montana's only daily sports talk show, Nuanez Now. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
I like football!
Now here's your host, Coulter Nuanez.
Anybody got a tea time opening for me? I want to play some golf this weekend. Welcome in. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. Hope you're having a phenomenal ending to your work week. Hope you got some big plans coming up for you on the weekend. Coulter Nuanez coming to you live from Brett's RV and Marine. We're down here for the second day in a row as Brett's, they have their March Grand Design Sales event going on. So we'll be live from here 4 to 6 p.m. You can also find more details on all the great deals they have going on down here on the Trail 103.3 FM as well as on Jack FM 105.9. As always, we're coming to you through the Northwest Motorsports studio. You can march into savings with Northwest Motorsports Markdown Madness all month long, which, by the way, crazy, less than a week left in March. But for the next week or so, you can get special APRs. And you can get a truckload of savings on the great selection of trucks, and more trucks at Northwest Motorsport. You can also check out their enormous inventory of trucks by visiting nwmsrocks.com. Let's take a look at what we got in the show today. If you want to stream the show, listen to the show on your mobile device, your cell phone, your tablet, your computer, laptop, whatever, go to our station website, 1029espn.com. Click on Listen Live. You'll find the stream. If you want to be a part of the show, you can always call us or text us. Texting probably preferred today, but you want to be a part of the conversation, you always can. 406-888-1029. That's 888-1029. Today's show, how about this? A little re-invite, Colby Dant from the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He joined us yesterday. Well, he was so good, he joins us again today. Talking all things March Madness. The Sweet 16 underway. Couple one seeds went down last night, so we'll get into the analysis of both Gonzaga and Arizona getting bounced last night from the NCAA men's basketball tournament. We'll also look at a couple of tonight's games as well. Did you know that it's International Peacock Day? Is that a harbinger of good luck for the St. Peter's Peacocks as they take on Purdue here in about an hour? We will see. We'll get into that with Colby Dant, analyze some of the betting lines from this upcoming slate of games. 4 more games tonight. We're also going to dive into some softball. The Grizz softball team, they've actually been rolling for almost 2 months now. But as we know, when your season starts in mid-February and you are in Montana, you are not going to be hosting a lot of games. So they've been on the road a ton to get their season underway. But Big Sky Conference play opens this weekend in Missoula. A doubleheader for Grizz softball tomorrow against Portland State, and then they play the Vikings again at noon on Sunday. So we caught up with Melanie Michael, the head coach for the Grizz softball team. She'll join us here about 4:30. We're also going to talk some pro day stuff and some other NFL by way of Montana Big Sky Conference connections. Samari Toure, former Grizz All-American who transferred to Nebraska before last season. He had his pro day. I guess Nebraska had their pro day. Samari Toure participated in it. There's also some pro days coming up for the University of Montana and Montana State. And a former Bobcat linebacker, Alex Singleton. He signed a new contract as well. So we get into some of the Treasure State and Big Sky connections in the NFL today. Also, the illustrious return. So glad to have her back. The chick who doesn't know sports. Our great friend Carolyn swung by, and it's a good one. It's pretty funny. In her couple weeks not being on the show, well, Russell Wilson got traded. Aaron Rodgers signed a massive deal. Tom Brady came out of retirement. So basically all of Carolyn's favorite pieces of fodder reignited in her 2 weeks away. So we'll chat with all that stuff with her about 5 o'clock. And we're also going to take a look at some of the kids from around the state of Montana going to various colleges, maybe ones that you hadn't heard yet. 406mtsports.com. They have a great link on their website that's just a table of all the kids from around the state of Montana going to go compete at the college level. So I was going through it, and there was some that I saw in here that I guess a lot that we know, that we've talked about, that we've reported on the show. Young people, young athletes that have come on our show that we've talked to and talked to about their college decisions, but also ones maybe that hadn't gotten as much press. So we'll go over those as well. At about 5:30, we'll give you some score updates because the games for the last round of the Sweet 16 tip about 5:10 Montana time tonight. So we will give you a real-time score update here in about, hour and 25 minutes. The Brett's RV and Marine March Grand Design Sales Event is rolling right now. We are broadcasting from Brett's. Right now, the absolute best time to buy a new RV at Brett's RV and Marine. For just today and tomorrow, you can get factory discount prices. The Grand Design Sales Event is on now at Brett's RV and Marine. Exclusive factory discount prices, and it's only going today and tomorrow. We will be down here until 6 p.m. broadcasting to you live from Brett's, and they'll have the sale going on all day tomorrow as well. So sale you don't want to miss. Check out the online inventory of these beautiful Grand Design RVs at brettsrv.com, or just come see us, 4800 Grant Creek Road. Nuanez now, ESPN Radio. How about some more NCAA tournament talk?
Well, perhaps the fastest repeat invite in the history of Nuanez now. If you were listening yesterday, Colby Dant of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's the host of the College Basketball Experience. He joined us here on Nuanez Now yesterday to break down some Sweet 16 stuff. It was so much fun. I figured let's do it again. We got 4 more Sweet 16 games tonight. So, Colby, he joins us here again. And thanks for being with us, man. Yesterday was fun. Let's have some fun today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Despite the Gonzaga play, which, made me look like a fool, I feel like I had the other ones pretty. I mean, look, the Duke game, I knew that line smelled. So we had a conversation here in the office at SGPN saying, man, I think Texas Tech's a better team, but something's off with that line. So normally when we know the line kind of doesn't make sense, I feel like 90% of the time the team that it's not making sense for wins the game.
Yes, for sure. No doubt about it. So last night, for those that were maybe need some catching up, here's your Sweet 16 scores. Gonzaga fell to Arkansas, 74-68. Great job by Eric Musselman and his crew to topple the top-seeded Zags. Houston got past Arizona, 72-60. Colby had that one. And that was a good pick because Houston definitely looked like the enforcer and the tougher team in that matchup. Villanova gets past Michigan, 63-55, and certainly a lot of the things Kobe talked about, just execution and free throw shooting, were key factors in that. And then Mike Krzyzewski's last dance, it continues as Duke outlasted Texas Tech, 78-73. And your games tonight include another slate. You got 4 games coming up tonight. In the second day of the Sweet 16, St. Peter's versus Purdue starts at 5:09. That's the 15th-seeded Peacocks versus the 3rd-seeded Boilermakers. Providence versus Kansas. That's the 4th-seeded Friars versus the top-seeded Jayhawks. That one starts at 5:29 Montana time. North Carolina versus UCLA. That's the 8th-seeded Tar Heels versus the 4th-seeded Bruins. That one starts at 7:39 Montana time. And then Iowa State, the 11th seed in the Midwest. They take on 10th-seeded Miami. That one tips just a minute short of 8 p.m. But circling back around on last night, Kobe, what did you? I mean, you mentioned it, but what did you think were some of the key factors in the Gonzaga loss? Because that's a team that people around Western Montana certainly follow pretty heavily, and a team that was one of, if not the betting favorites coming into this NCAA tournament, and now they're on the outside looking in. So what did you think Arkansas did well, and just how surprising is it that 2 1 seeds fell in one night? Yeah,
I mean, the Gonzaga thing, in hindsight, I definitely said that I thought it was a bad matchup for Arkansas, and I believe that. I put my money where my mouth was, and that did not work out. But I was a skeptic. Like a lot of people thought that this Gonzaga team was as good or better than last year's team. The guard play has been a question mark, I feel like, throughout the whole season. And we saw it last night. They shot a terrible percentage from 3. Yes, did I think there was bad calls on Chet Holmgren? Sure, but I don't think that's why you lost the game. I think Eric Musselman had a game plan that was very effective, and I thought Mark Few was kind of outcoached the entire way because he didn't really make many changes to me, and he didn't adapt to what Arkansas was doing. And for that, they're at home, and Yeah, I mean, I think the guard play, Nebhard, didn't do much. Like, they just got destroyed there. And then just the Razorback defense, nonstop, relentlessness, is, I think, the deciding factor there. They wanted it more, and they were the better team yesterday. So
interesting, too, local tie here. Once upon a time when Wayne Tinkle first left the University of Montana to go to Oregon State as the head coach, one of the guys in the mix for the Montana head coaching job before they hired Travis DeCuire was Eric Musselman. And then Musselman ended up matriculating his way to Nevada, now at Arkansas, and a guy that's got NBA experience, and he's a heck of a coach, and he definitely had an upper hand on Mark Few, one of the best in the business last night. Colby Dant of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network joining us here on Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Colby's the host of the College Basketball Experience. You can find that podcast as well as all of the other great podcasts on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network at sportsgamblingpodcast.com. And all the podcasts over there, they're free. So go check them out. Go rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. Keep adding to your podcast list. We got 7 of them here at Missoula Broadcasting Company, but how about a couple more from some of our contributors here as well? Colby, I thought the other point that you made that was so good, other than just style and coaching and all that, experience in this tournament is so important. And even though Arizona was the number 1 seed, the best team out of the Pac-12, none of their players ever played in the NCAA tournament. And they sort of looked like that in the first couple of rounds against Wright State and TCU, needing overtime to get past the Horned Frogs. And then last night, it definitely looked like Houston was the tougher, more savvy, and more experienced team. And you called that one right on the button.
Yeah, I mean, I like that, this Houston team, I think I made this case yesterday. I'm not sure if I did or just I can't even remember because I've told my buddies this so much. But Kelvin Sampson should have been Coach of the Year.
For sure.
I can't think of. Look, we're Coach K just got his 100th win in March Madness in the NCAA tournament yesterday. Obviously, we know Coach K is a legendary coach, but I even think with Coach K, you take away 2 of your top 3 leading scorers, including your leading scorer. Any team in the country would probably not make the NCAA tournament, but even if they did, it would be an early exit. Kelvin Sampson has done this with 2 of his top 3 leading scorers, including his leading scorer, Marcus Sasser. It's really remarkable. And they had other injuries. I mean, I don't know how they didn't give him Coach of the Year. I mean, I get it. Tommy Lloyd turned Arizona around. TJ Otzelberger turned Iowa State around. Ed Cooley's doing a great job at Providence. But, man, if you take away the 2 of the top 3 leading scorers on those teams ain't sniffing the NCAA tournament, if you ask me.
No doubt about it. We've always loved Kelvin Sampson around here, too. He's joined us on this show before. He's got Butte roots. He was his first head coaching job was at Montana Tech, and he's been great, man. If he would have never had the controversy that he's had, and I know a lot of it was self-inflicted, to be sure, with a lot of his recruiting stuff and then some of the hot water he got into, but he's won everywhere he's been, and he's always proven he's a great tournament coach for sure.
Yeah, I loved, I don't know, how well you guys follow the pro game, but I loved the article of, I read something on him, like, I think right before he went to Houston, he was an assistant coach, I believe with the Rockets or the Spurs, and he told one of the players, like, he's coaching him saying, hey, I need you to come up and set the screen, one of the big men. And the big man goes, no, because if I set the screen, I won't get a rebound, and my rebound is closer to my incentive in my contract. So he's like, wait, what? I'm telling you to come set this screen. And he was like, that. From that moment on, I knew I had to quit the NBA because
right.
in college, they listened to me. Great coach, though,
that's exactly right, yeah. Colby Dant joining us here from the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. And the other 2 games, sort of just in full control. I thought that Villanova was never really threatened by Michigan. I guess the first half was kind of back and forth, but Villanova seemed to be pretty much in control of that contest and moving past Michigan. And then the other Sweet 16 game, Duke and Texas Tech. So I thought Texas Tech, they blitzed Montana State in an incredible fashion. They were up 18-2 in that game. And then they get out to, I think, a 10 or even 12-2 lead last night. And you're thinking, wow, if Texas Tech can do that to Duke, they can do it to pretty much anybody. But then Duke readjusted and really controlled the second half of the game. So what did you think the key factors were there, and how do you think Duke was able to move on past Texas Tech?
I thought Texas Tech kind of let them off the hook personally. In the second half, up to about, 5 or 6 minutes left, I thought Duke was playing great considering their youth, but I thought Texas Tech, on eye test alone, had looked like the better team. But down the stretch, Texas Tech shifted to a zone, which I thought was giving Duke problems. Then Banchero hits a three in the corner in that zone, and all of a sudden they ditch it. Just because of 1-3, they switch back to man, and I want to say, if memory serves me correct, Duke scored the next 7 possessions on that man defense. I thought that was a vital mistake for Mark Adams. I thought the zone was efficient. Sometimes you have, Texas Tech is known to overcommit. That's why they are one of the top teams in the nation at steals. So when you do that, you're going to have guys available for 3. So they got burned on a possession. I thought they should have stuck with the zone, and I thought if they had done that, they would be advancing.
Well, let's take a look at tonight's games then. 4 more on the docket. And we'll start with the 2 that tip first, St. Peter's at Purdue and Providence versus Kansas. Well, I'll start with the St. Peter's one because I think that there's a lot to play with when it comes to a 15 seed, because even if you don't believe that they're going to win, a lot of times you might be able to get favorable. And Purdue is a 13-point favorite against St. Peter's. What do you think of this line?
No 15 seeds ever made it to the Elite Eight.
That's right.
Although Oral Roberts came pretty close last year as Max Asmus missed a 3 by about a couple inches. I feel like that was halfway down. Now, today is National Peacock Day, right?
Wow, I did not know that.
It really is. I saw St. Peter's their account tweet that out today, saying it's actually National Peacock Day, and they are the Peacocks. But getting 13 points, I'm surprised Purdue's as far as they are. Personally, I mean, I was one. Did I think they're incredibly talented? Sure, but they play defense at a pretty poor level for a Matt Painter coach team. So I was a skeptic. Now, the height, this is interesting here. I think if you are Shaheen Holloway, I think you better be studying what Jim Larinaga did to the Auburn Tigers. And what they did with Miami playing Auburn is they played small ball, which basically forced Bruce Pearl to take Walker Kessler out of the game. I think they should do the same, use the same exact approach and get Zach Edey out of the game and potentially Travion Williams. I think they should go with 4 guards and a forward. And I think there's opportunity because here's the thing. St. Peter's offense has been horrible all year. It's been inconsistent. Now, the defense is a top 20 defense. So if they can just clamp down defensively, I think their offense will come around because Purdue's defense is pretty bad. And the way Doug Edert, who just scored an NIL deal with Buffalo Wild Wings, has been shooting the 3, I think he's going to have some opportunities. I'll take the Peacocks in the points, even though the size is concerning, because I can tell you this, if they do not adjust to the size, they could get blown out. But I think Shaheen Holloway is too smart of a coach. I think he's going to come out with a game plan that will attack and force Purdue to take out their bigs. So I'm going to take St. Peter's plus the 13.
Colby Dant from the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's the host of the College Basketball Experience podcast. You can find all the podcasts from the network on sportsgamblingpodcast.com. And how about Kansas -7 or Providence +7, just depending on which way you want to spin it. But the Friars were probably the team that got a top 5 seed in this field that I was the least familiar with coming in. That has nothing to do with anything besides just like where they play, when they play, all that stuff. But then Kansas has always been in the Sweet 16 and almost never been much farther than Sweet 16 under Bill Self. So where are we at with this one, Kansas -7?
This is one where I think we circled the experience. Now, I guess you could say, well, hey, Kansas has Akbaji and McCormick, and they've been experienced in the tournament, sure. But the one of the oldest teams in the nation, I think they're the 3rd oldest, is the Providence Friars. Ed Cooley has done a fantastic job. And in my opinion, I don't know if it was because the Ken Palm analytics, I know they deemed them the luckiest team this year. I feel like they've been getting disrespected all year. They've had some great wins. They've had, in my opinion, they're an incredibly deep team, very old. I think this is going to be a marquee matchup that goes down to the final, couple possessions of the game. And I think, really Providence has a chip on their shoulder, and they should, because I thought they got misseeded a little bit. I thought they've been disrespected by the media, and I think if you're Ed Cooley, you're putting that up on the bulletin board nonstop. We heard Musselman talk about that yesterday, saying everyone that took Gonzaga, we put that up on our bulletin board, and there's a reason why they came out like dogs. I think Providence will stay in this game, and I actually like their chances for a money line play here. It's an interesting matchup with David McCormick, the center of Kansas, who's always been inconsistent, going up against Nate Watson, the big man for Providence. Both are from Southern Virginia, about 45 minutes apart. And that's going to be, I think, one of the keys of the game. Is who will win that big man spot? Will they be able to control the glass? Another thing is Noah Horkler, the power forward for Providence. This is a guy that can hit the three. If he can hit the three in this game, it brings out Jalen Wilson or McCormick away from rebounding, which I think will then strengthen Providence' chances to win the game. Give me Providence plus the 7 points or 7, and I got it at 7.5. But yeah, I think I have a real chance to win this on the money line as well. But I expect it to be a close game, and I could totally see both teams, coming away with the W.
You gotta love it. Let's look at the nightcaps then. North Carolina UCLA is a blue blood, but a 4 and an 8, so maybe a little bit unaccustomed, but maybe not recently. I guess North Carolina hasn't been what it once was, but still a good one when it comes to TV viewership for sure. A lot of baby blue, both sides of that one, but right now a pretty tight line. I've seen it move as much as UCLA -3. I got it right now, UCLA -2. I've seen it as low as UCLA -1.5. So where are we at with the Tar Heels and the Bruins?
Now, the whole, the Twitter universe, I feel like, is trying to get Duke Carolina for the first time ever in the NCAA tournament. Right?
That's exactly right.
I think they're trying to manifest that. But as much as Carolina and Hubert Davis should be credited, I know people wanted to give him I feel like some people wanted him fired in the middle of the year. But he's done a great job. And yes, I thought they had some breaks with playing the Baylor without, their leading scorer and leading rebounder. That was a nice draw. But they still had to go win those games. And the way they won those games, especially the Marquette game, just complete dominance. They've been playing great, and they have a great front court. They really do, with Baycott and Manick, that I think would pose problems to any team in the country. Now, on the other side of this, you have UCLA, with who's well experienced. They went to the Final Four a year ago. Probably, if it wasn't for a lucky Jalen Suggs shot, it would have been in the NCAA championship. So I think this is a great matchup, but I lean UCLA. And I know you got the Jaime Jaquez injury, which is concerning because I do think he's a big part of that nucleus, especially when it comes to defense and taking charges. But I think they have the guys to make North Carolina's front court really struggle. And what I mean is Baycott and Manick against Miles Johnson, which is a transfer from Rutgers, but he's super athletic. He's not a great offensive player, but I think he's athletic enough to be a problem defensively for Armando Baycott. So I think that matchup kind of, I'd still favor North Carolina, but I don't think they'll have the same efficiency that they've had so far in the tournament. And then the real X factor to me, and I think he's the most underrated basketball player in this NCAA tournament, is Tiger Campbell. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's sitting there at I think he had, 3 turnovers in the Akron game. I think the last game had 6. They just don't turn the ball over, and that travels. That travels really far. I think UCLA is the better team, and I also think they have the clutch gene. And we still haven't seen Johnny Juzang really have a great tournament game this year. I think this could be the one as well. But they got multiple guys that can hit big-time shots, whether it's Campbell, Juzang, or Jules Bernard. I think UCLA wins this game.
Colby Dant from the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's the host of the College Basketball Experience. You can find that at sportsgamblingpodcast.com or on all your podcast hosting platforms. And last one tonight at 8 p.m. tip, Mountain Standard Time. Miami, a 10 seed, Iowa State, an 11 seed. Both these teams sort of upstarts and have made some waves in this tournament already. The line, Miami -3. I really have no idea what I think of this one. I think that this is a total coin flip game. Whoever can parlay the momentum of last weekend, I think it'll be a key factor. But what else will be key factors in this one, and what do you think of this line?
I mean, this one is, I thought coming into looking at the Sweet 16, I thought this is the hardest game to handicap. But I'm going to take a shot on Iowa State. My logic here is this. I get it. Miami doesn't turn the ball over, much like Tiger Campbell. They protect the basketball really well. But they live and die by the three. They don't really have much when it comes to a front court. And Iowa State, especially in the past, 5 games, has been defending the three at an unbelievable level. So I'm going to go with that. I am a bit concerned. I think Miami's the more experienced team. So that is, but it's not like Iowa State isn't completely inexperienced. Isaiah Brockington, fifth-year senior, Penn State transfer. It's concerning a little bit. But another thing is this game's in Chicago. I think it's going to be an Iowa State crowd. And then I think the real X factor here is the momentum to me that the Cyclones have. They've really played much better basketball, especially outside of the Big 12. You look at their record outside of the Big 12, they're pretty much unbeatable outside of the Big 12. Their only losses came within the Big 12, and they actually scheduled themselves pretty aggressively outside of the Big 12, and they had great success with it. So at the end of the day, I'm going to take Iowa State in somewhat of a home advantage because they defend the three, and I feel like Otzelberger, Larinaga, it's kind of a wash at the coaching angle. But I just think Iowa State's, there's something about this team right now that they're believing. I think they're playing defense at an unbelievable, almost like a Texas Tech 2019 level. Give me the Cyclones to cover this one and get the win.
Yeah, I love it. Colby Dant, Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's the host of the College Basketball Experience Podcast. Join us for a second day in a row to break down some Sweet 16. This was fun, man. Maybe we'll touch base next week. But in the meantime, have a great weekend. Enjoy the games, and thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. Enjoy the games as well. I'm always available. Appreciate you having me on, guys.
There you go. That was fun. Love new contributing guests. Colter Nuanez now, down here at the Brett's RV and Marine March Grand Design Sales Event. Right now is the absolute best time to buy a new RV at Brett's RV and Marine. Just today and tomorrow, you can get factory discount prices. This is a sale you don't want to miss. So swing on by 4800 Grant Creek Road. Melanie Michael, head coach for Grizz softball, previews the Big Sky Conference opening weekend against Portland State. She'll join us next. Keep it right here, ESPN Radio.
Back by popular demand, Zootown Sports Cards presents the Missoula Sports Card and Collectibles Show. Check out exceptionally rare and coveted cards and goods from more than 40 vendors from around the state and region. It's all going down at the Doubletree Hotel Saturday, April 2nd, 10 till 5. Admission for attendees is free. JSA authentication will be on site, so come check out the hottest in the memorabilia industry at the Missoula Sports Card and Collectibles Show at the Doubletree, April 2nd. Presented by Zootown Sports Cards of Missoula.
I'm all about keeping my family driving safe. Dad, pothole.
Got it.
So I insist we choose Les Schwab tires for safety services like brakes, steering, and alignment. Stuff those cheap tire centers don't offer. Because I want a backseat drive with confidence. Dad, speed check.
At the Les Schwab Spring Tire Sale, save up to $150 when you buy select tires with financing. Les Schwab Tires, celebrating 70 years of doing the right thing. Limited time offer. Terms and conditions apply. See leschwab.com/sale for details.
Now, the Montana Club's happy hour features BOGO beverages. Our expertly mixed cocktails, microbrews, domestics, and wine are buy one, get one free 7 days a week from 3 to 5:30. Stop in on Friday for Montini night. Sip on a top shelf martini for only $6, 5:30 to close. When you've worked hard all day and are ready to relax, the Montana Club has got you covered with BOGO happy hour 7 days a week, 3 to 5:30 on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Part of the glory of building a business comes from leaving a legacy to ensure your business continues thriving into the future. Have you asked yourself lately, what is your plan? Forming a personalized business succession plan is essential to know the passion you put into your business will carry on. Nick Tabor at Westpac Wealth is here to help you navigate all your business succession and retirement planning needs. Give Nick a call at 728-6699 and keep the spirit of possibility vibrant while making your future more tax efficient with a personalized business succession and retirement plan for you.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
The Silver Slipper is the place to watch all the basketball madness this month. Monday through Friday happy hour from 5 to 7 p.m. Half off drinks, $1 off beer, and $1 off wine. There will be daily drink and food specials, plus the Silver Slipper Bracket Challenge with prizes for first through third place and a daily drawing for a gift card. Must be present to win. The Silver Slipper has over 55 TVs, so you won't miss a game. Head on down to the Silver Slipper, across from Walmart on Highway 93 in Missoula. The Silver Slipper is the place to watch all the basketball madness this month.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Two of the best from the West were knocked out on the first night of the Sweet 16. Hello, I am Colter Nuanez. The beginning of the regionals for the NCAA men's basketball tournament began Thursday. Top-seeded Gonzaga, the betting favorite to win the national championship entering the big dance, could not handle the speed and athleticism of Arkansas, falling to the fourth-seeded Razorbacks 74-68. Just a few hours later, Arizona, the number one seed in the South region, fell to Kelvin Sampson's Houston Cougars 72-60, meaning that the two pre-tournament betting favorites have been eliminated from the field in the round of 16. Sampson started his career as the head coach at Montana Tech in Butte back in the 1970s. Thursday's other NCAA tournament results included second-seeded Villanova ending number 11 Michigan's run 63-55, and Mike Krzyzewski's last dance continues at Duke as the Blue Devils outlasted Texas Tech 78-73. Montana State's men's head basketball coach Danny Sprinkle was announced on Monday as a finalist for the Hugh Durham Award given to the top mid-major coach in college basketball. Sprinkle was the 2022 Big Sky Conference Coach of the Year after leading the Bobcats to their first outright Big Sky Conference championship in 20 years and their first NCAA tournament appearance since 1996. And finally, former All-American Grizz receiver Samari Torre participated in Nebraska's Pro Day earlier this week. Among his standout marks included running 4.43 seconds in the 40-yard dash.
This 102.9 ESPN Missoula Sports Center is brought to you by Aspen Sound.
Yeah, where I go, I just don't know. Like I took, gotta take it slow. When I find my peace of mind, I'm gonna give you some of my good
What's up, Montana? Welcome back. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, as well as SWX Montana Television. If you're looking at us on TV or on the YouTube feed, we're not in studio because we're down here. Brett's RV and Marine. The March Grand Design Sales Event rolls on. We are broadcasting to you through the Northwest Motorsports Studio. Go check out the largest inventory of trucks and SUVs anywhere in the Pacific Northwest at nwmsrocks.com. That's nwmsrocks.com.
Well, happy now to start diving into some spring sports. It's been all hoops all the time around here at Nuanez Now, but now the diamond is back. We're going to be talking a ton of baseball, both on the professional and minor league levels. Of course, we're going to be covering the Missoula Paddleheads, and very excited to revamp and re-up our Grizz softball coverage for the year as well. We're joined here now on the eve of the first Big Sky Conference home weekend for the University of Montana softball team, and we're joined by Grizz softball head coach Melanie Michael. Melanie, thanks so much for being with us. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having us, Colter.
Well, first of all, let's talk about this non-conference, because it's always an interesting thing to talk to you about, because as we know, in Montana, there's not really any sort of pre-spring. You guys have to be on the road for basically the duration of the first couple months of the season. So just take us through it. I know you guys have been all over the country, all over the West. So what have you got out of this non-conference? What have been some of the experiences like? What have you thought of the schedule you guys have played so far?
Yeah, you know, every year as we're building our schedule, we know that we're going to be on the road for the first 4 to 5 weeks of our non-conference schedule. Being that we live in Montana and the weather, and our season starts really in February, early February. So as we set out, you know, we try to hit destinations that we will find new competition, not always playing the same opponents, finding competition that we feel will be quite competitive for us to set us up for our conference schedule and that part of our season, but also, a couple destinations. We were lucky to start out in Sacramento, California, which we do a lot of recruiting out of that area, and have some teams in the area that we feel like is, great competition. Felt like we started out our first weekend playing quite well. We have a pretty veteran team, but yet are trying to work in some younger athletes that really have talent that are helping our program. And so went into that weekend. We're pleased with our first weekend. It always can be a grind a little bit, whether we are able to get on a true softball field prior to playing our first pitch of the season. And weather permitting and our excellent ground crew here at the University of Montana made that possible for us. We're able to plow the turf, and we were able to get on and felt like catch a little bit of rhythm in our game. So we went out to Sacramento, then went out to Texas and saw a few new teams that we have not seen. And then we're very fortunate to be able to play at the University of Hawaii in their tournament and just get that full experience for our team and play a couple of very solid teams out there. And then headed to Grand Canyon. And it's always been a tournament that we have from day one really looked at going to. Great facilities, great competition, and just, weather that I feel like we're starting to kind of catch a little bit of our rhythm in that time of year quite a bit. And so that led us into Missoula, Montana, and it was nice. It was cold, but nice to be able to play at home and have teams like DePaul and Seattle U in Missoula. So that kind of took us through the first 5 weeks. Here we are. Conference play begins on Saturday with Portland State, and just excited to watch our team continue to grow and know that we still have more in us, but definitely excited where we're currently at.
Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. Melanie Michael joining us here on Nuanez Now. The Grizz softball team, they open their home portion of the Big Sky Conference schedule. They've actually played their last 6 at home, including matchups against DePaul, Seattle U, and Providence leading up to this Big Sky Conference home opener. But Melanie, you mentioned recruiting, and I know we talk a ton about recruiting when it comes to football and basketball. I think it's interesting to sort of analyze on the softball level, though, because there's always been great in-state softball players in Montana. I'm always teasing my sister-in-laws. If they just would have been 10 years younger, maybe they could have played for the Grizz softball team as well. But you obviously can't get everybody from in-state. I know you guys have sort of a northwestern footprint, but you also mentioned recruiting California. I also know Vegas and the Nevada area has been very good to you as well. But as this thing has evolved, as you have now been the head coach for several years now, how has your recruiting strategy evolved, and how has maybe the Grizz brand been able to spread? I mean, have you felt you guys have been able to get into more places, more inroads because of sort of the validity and the success of University of Montana softball?
Absolutely. We are now in our 8th season as a program, and I think early the name had spread, and I think it just continues to grow and spread, and the excitement of it, and the experience of former players and their ability to continue to educate people that Montana does have a collegiate softball program and a good Division I collegiate softball program. And so we continue to spread our wings, definitely in the Western United States, but always kind of just branching out, looking out, and trying to find the best fit for the University of Montana. And yes, there are players in the state of Montana.
Well, let's talk about the way that last season ended, then leading into this year, because the Big Sky Tournament, I was down there because the Big Sky Tournament for softball and the Big Sky Conference Outdoor Track and Field Championships were both in Ogden, Utah. So it was very fun for me to be able to cover 2 championships at once. So I was going back and forth, but the softball side of the championships was crazy. Sac State came in as the top seed, but you guys took care of business against them twice, knocked them out of the tournament. Portland State caught fire, sort of, I don't know about unpredictably, because they were very good and they had a very good pitcher who was mowing people down. But regardless, this all played out so that maybe the top seeds weren't the ones that were playing towards the end of the tournament. And you guys got all the way to the final day, played 5 games at the Big Sky tournament, ended up losing a heartbreaker to Southern Utah. It was so crushing to just see your girls and how disappointed they were, but that's sports in a nutshell, right? But just take us through that experience and just how close you guys were last year, and maybe how you hope to parlay that momentum or any of the influences from that run in last year's Big Sky tournament into now the opening of Big Sky Conference play this weekend.
Yeah, I think anytime that you enter Big Sky Conference play, it becomes more of a dogfight throughout the 6 weeks of conference play and throughout teams. And last year, to end regular season, we had the top seed and the number 2 seed, but 3, 4, and 5 all tied, which it gave us a little bit of a projection that the conference tournament was going and could be very wild, and saw that out there. I thought that there were some teams that maybe were catching stride earlier in the conference season and others that were closing ground and catching a lot of stride late in the season. And that's what you're hopeful for a coach. You want to be able to play very well throughout the entire season, but yet still gaining momentum when it comes to championship play. And we went into the conference tournament with a lot of excitement of what we were doing and who we were, and knew that we still had a little bit more, and really saw players within our program step up, take some major leadership on, and have the determination that they've always had, but the confidence that they could win it. And to see the players bond in that experience, but also have full belief that we were going to win that tournament. We played really hard as a full team, offensively, defensively. As everyone knows, Tristan Achenbach did a phenomenal job on the mound for us, and really had the determination that this was going to be the year. As you compete hard, as you pretty much put your love for the game, you put your whole heart out there, it can be quite crushing when you come up a little bit short. But I could not be more proud of our program. I could not be more proud of the players and what they gave, the effort they gave, and the belief that they gave. And to feel that feeling is something that I think everyone should be very proud of. And that's a feeling that we continue to talk about and continue to work on and continue to find throughout the year. And I feel like we're stepping into that position as Grizz softball at this time.
Well, it's one of my favorite parts about covering sports is oftentimes when you fall just short, it can be the motivating factor going forward, especially for a lot of the returners. I know you do have some solid returners. So have you seen that in them? Have you seen sort of that added hunger, just knowing how close they were and what the end goal might be this year?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that it drives us on a daily basis, knowing that it is a process, it is a long season, but the hunger for what we came up a little bit short for is always sitting on the forefront. And you can see that in our work every day.
Melanie Michael joining us here on Nuanez Now. She is the head coach of the Grizz softball team. They open with a 3-game set against Portland State Saturday and Sunday here in Missoula to open Big Sky Conference play at home. And, Coach, you mentioned Tristan Achenbach, who was awesome. She came on this show twice last year. What a great young lady, really fun to interview, and also a tremendous pitcher, a tremendous athlete in general. But she has moved on, so you have someone else new on the bump, and I know you've been sort of splitting it between Allie Brock and Dana Butterfield. So what have you thought of those two young ladies, and what do they sort of bring each? What are some of the similarities and differences that they have when they take the mound for your squad?
Oh, yeah. They're both very talented. Both are very competitive. They love to have the ball, and they love to be on the mound and the ability to compete against an opposing hitter. Allie has just a little bit more experience at the collegiate level. She's a sophomore for us, but has had a great career. I know freshman year went through a little bit of the learning process of the collegiate level and collegiate hitters, but always brought the mindset that she wanted to take on the challenges. And I think we're starting to see a lot of that pay off for her this year. She has a great presence on the mound, and we know when she's on the mound for us that we always have a chance. She has very good ball movement and really understands the process of pitching, not just being out there throwing. And so really like where she's at. Dana Butterfield is a freshman for us and has, like I said, a very competitive person. She throws with a little more velocity to her, and she has some deadly movement as well. She is still in some of the learning of the collegiate game, but each day you can see the strides that she takes with it and the growth that she takes, and just understanding that really in a lineup of a collegiate lineup, you can't really take any hitters off physically or mentally. And so that can be very taxing, but definitely rises to the challenge of it and is doing a great job.
Well, that was going to be, you lead me right into my next question, because you look at these two young ladies, both of them are from Oregon, and you look at their high school resumes, and I mean, I'm looking at Dana Butterfield's right now. You know, her prep record, 24-4, 306 strikeouts in only 180 innings. And then you look at Allie Brock, and it's even more impressive, 566-something strikeouts in about half the amount of innings. So you're talking about mowing people down. I mean, striking out 2 out of every 3 hitters you hit or that you face. So when you do transition to the collegiate game, how much of an adjustment is that? Because, you know, you might still be a dominant presence, but you're certainly not going to be striking out, 15, 16 girls every single time. So how much of an adjustment is it mentally for girls that are such dominant pitchers at the high school level?
I think, there's always a little bit of a time frame in which there's an adjustment to it. And when you're, you have built yourself into that great, excellent resume for high school, it may not always translate over at the high percentage of numbers, but it does translate over. And so it's kind of continuing to grow and develop with understanding what got you those numbers prior, and then the maybe 1 or 2 small little adjustments, but really utilize what you have because you are good enough. Your stuff is good enough. And utilize what you have against who you are facing at that time. And so some of that is just being able to see that, grow with that, and enjoy the competition that each collegiate batter brings. And so that's a phase that I think every collegiate pitcher goes through and continues to go through their career.
Melanie Michael joining us here on ESPN Radio. Nuanez Now. Grizz softball team. She's the head coach, and they open Big Sky Conference play this upcoming weekend. They got a pair on Saturday in Missoula, 1 and 3:30 p.m. down there at the Grizz softball complex, and then a little afternooner, a noon first pitch on Sunday. So if you need something to do, should be beautiful weather. It's always fun to go check out some Grizz softball. Portland State in town. And, Coach, just a couple more things for you. First of all, I want to ask you about some of your top returners as far as out in the field. And Megan McGrath was somebody that we loved covering last year. She joined us a couple times on this show, and just such a fierce competitor. You could just tell she plays with some attitude, and she's such a great hitter, such a great shortstop. So I know that it sort of starts with her in terms of your key returners, but also some great players along with like Cammie Sellers coming back for her 5th year as well. So just take us through sort of your lineup and the way that maybe some of the veteran players are leading the way.
Yeah, we, as we started this program, the very first 4-year crew graduated, and we had to bring in a group to fill that 11-person roster we were losing in that class of 2018. And so Megan McGrath, Brooklyn Wisegram, McKenna Jaden, Kylie Becker, and Cammie Sellers fell into that class. And in that time, they have had a ton of experience in their position, playing over 100-plus games. And so throughout their learning process and growth process, they have turned into, and were when they came in, but have really turned into kind of some mainstay for our team and just phenomenal athletes. And so anytime they're on the field or in the batter's box, I know that each conference opponent knows their name, knows their skill level, and has a lot of respect for them. And Megan is kind of the forefront of our team with that. Cammie Sellers, you're going to have to face them as a 2-3 in our lineup. You get through one. If you get through one, you got to face another. And I feel like they are a little bit of our mainstay, but we have built and developed very good athletes around them, and know that it just continues to add to the success and kind of the depth of our team.
Well, let's talk about this weekend. Then Portland State, a team that was red hot down the stretch last year and ended up taking the Big Sky Conference tournament. So what do the Vikings have at their disposal this year? How are they different from maybe the team that got so hot down the stretch last spring?
Yeah, they return a lot of their players from last year's team. They return their ace pitcher that carried them throughout the Big Sky Conference and into regionals. And then a lot of their mainstay of their team as well. And so they're aggressive, they're competitive, and I think that they pitch it well. And so we're excited to be able to face them. We are very familiar with them and feel like we have some things that we can present back at them, and just looking for a very good series, first Big Sky Conference series.
Olivia Gray, that ace pitcher, she has a 1.55 ERA right now, 12-1 on the bump so far for the Vikings, 116 strikeouts in 87 innings pitched. And, Coach, you know this as well as anybody. Sometimes it's just a matter of wearing them down because you're going to face some really good pitchers, and this is one of the best in the Big Sky Conference. So how do you go about just cumulatively attacking somebody that does throw like Olivia Gray does?
Yeah, just understanding what she has, but then knowing what we have as an offense that can counteract, and just stay the course of being competitive throughout the entire game and compete. Our game is can be a very special game. Sometimes you can face the ultimate best pitcher, and it could take one hit to be able to just change the dynamic of the game. And it can turn out to a 1-0 game. I feel very confident in our offense and kind of the strides that we have taken to get where we currently are and some of the rhythm that our players have, and to know that we will compete very hard. We have respect for Olivia and what she's able to do, but have a lot of confidence in who we are at the plate.
Melanie Michael, Grizz softball, they open up Big Sky Conference play in Missoula this weekend, 1 and 3:30 on Saturday and noon on Sunday. So if you need something to do, you want to be outside, you want to go watch some awesome athletic competition, go check out Grizz softball this weekend. Melanie, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate having you, and best of luck this weekend, and we'll catch up with you throughout the year.
Thank you so much for having us on. Thank you for following Grizz softball, and go Grizz.
There you go. We'll be having a lot of softball coverage throughout the rest of the spring, both at the high school and college levels. And Grizz softball, fun to watch. So if you need something to do this weekend, head on down there. Go check them out. Nuanez now, coming to you live from Brett's RV and Marine. It is the Brett's RV and Marine March Grand Design Sales Event. Right now is the absolute best time to buy a new RV at Brett's RV and Marine. And today and tomorrow, you can get factory discounts. The Grand Design Sales Event on now. Brett's RV and Marine. What's up with some of the pro days and some of the participants in said pro days? Plus, a couple Bobcats get NFL opportunities. One, the extension of a career. One, a foot in the door as a coach. We will break it all down for you. Keep it right here. Nuanez now.
The Silver Slipper is the place to watch all the basketball madness this month. Monday through Friday happy hour from 5 to 7 p.m. Half off drinks, $1 off beer, and $1 off wine. There will be daily drink and food specials, plus the Silver Slipper Bracket Challenge with prizes for first through third place and a daily drawing for a gift card. Must be present to win. The Silver Slipper has over 55 TVs, so you won't miss a game. Head on down to the Silver Slipper, across from Walmart on Highway 93 in Missoula. The Silver Slipper is the place to watch all the basketball madness this month.
Have you ever worried if you're up to snuff in the bedroom? Are you looking to skip the waiting lines and the admission at the pharmacy? Do you want effective male enhancement delivered right to your door? Palmer's Drug of Missoula has you covered. All you need is a prescription from a doctor and a home address for Palmer's Drug to ship to. If you want to improve your love life and get right in the bedroom, all while keeping it discreet, look into home delivery through Palmer's Drug. Palmer's Drug, your trusted local pharmacy in Missoula.
This is Brandon G. Fowler, consumer and construction lender with Stockman Bank. We are proud to be the statewide sponsor of the Montana High School Association's sportsmanship program. At Stockman, supporting and encouraging our youth has always been important to us. We are excited to partner with an organization that promotes teamwork and good sportsmanship to Montana students of all ages, developing tomorrow's leaders through good sportsmanship today. Stockman Bank, Montana's brand of banking. Member FDIC.
As the seasons change in Montana, it's critical to make sure your vehicle's in full working order. And that's why now is the time to take your rig to Crawford's Automotive. Crawford's Auto on West Broadway does any work you need on any vehicle you have. To make sure you're running soundly, take it to Crawford's Automotive. Get your brakes checked or replaced at Crawford's, and the job will be done right every time with Chase Crawford personally doing the work on your vehicle. Take your cars and trucks to someone you can trust. For all your automotive needs, it's Crawford's Automotive on West Broadway.
Katie O'Keefe's Bar and Casino is one of the best places to watch sports in all of the Garden City. Located at 2100 Stevens in the Stevens Center, this friendly neighborhood hideaway is a fantastic place to watch the NCAA tournaments with your friends and family. And Katie's is also a proud sponsor of the Nuanez Now Bracket Challenge, offering more than $2,500 in prizes for whomever can fill out that perfect bracket. All March long, come watch the March Madness at Katie O'Keefe's, where the drinks are cold and the people are friendly.
Like most Montanans, we love a good steak. And because we're the Montana Club, we take the steaks we serve very seriously. We're confident to say that our custom grilled steaks are as good a steak as you're going to get. Now we're proud to add regularly sourced, naturally raised Castle Rock bison ribeye to our selection. And remember, the Montana Club steak entrees include the sides. Come into the Montana Club today for an unrivaled steak experience. The Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
It's Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
Me out, let me go. I don't belong here no more. They're releasing sounds of getting tired. Hold myself, I can't hold myself. The shelf in the room has been the way of holding me and letting me stay.
What's up, Montana? Welcome back. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, as well as SWX Montana Television. Hope you're having an outstanding Friday. If you're watching us on TV or on YouTube, you don't see me in the studio. It's because we're not there. We're here. That's the sales floor of Brett's RV and Marine. Their March Grand Design, sales event rolls on today and tomorrow. You're going to get factory discounts on all of their inventory of Grand Design RVs, from toy haulers to fifth wheels and everything in between. They pay top dollar for trade-ins, and they have special lender financing. So this is a sale you don't want to miss. Coming out with us, 4800 Grand Creek Road. I'll be down here for another hour. They'll be here through the evening and then all day tomorrow as well. Appreciate Brett's for all their support of what we do at ESPN Radio, as well as across the Missoula Broadcasting network of stations. Pro days are rolling along across the college football landscape. The NFL Combine was a couple weeks ago. Troy Anderson from Montana State participated in that. A couple guys from North Dakota State, Cordell Volson and Christian Watson, also did. The Pro days, though, are where a lot of these guys are going to get a chance to prove themselves. And there's two guys in particular. I guess there's actually three guys in particular that I have my eye on, because for better or worse, the happy or sad truth of it is that production at the college level for football players is pretty far down the list. They can certainly help accentuate your resume, but there's all sorts of guys that might not produce that much at the collegiate level. But if they have the measurables and the intangibles, they can come into the NFL right away and be impact players. DK Metcalf, for example, has had much better statistics in his 2 seasons with the Seattle Seahawks than he ever did at Ole Miss. And part of that was then spurred on, or I guess ignited, by his awesome performance at the Combine and his awesome performance at the Ole Miss Pro Day. So the guys from that have ties to our neck of the woods, ties to the Treasure State, that I've had my eyes on include Samori Toure, who is a former Grizz All-American wide receiver, a record setter during his time at the University of Montana before graduate transferring to Nebraska. He had his pro day the other day, and great returns for him. We talked about Samori when he first transferred to Nebraska, what the elevated competition might do for him. I do think it gives him some good film. I don't necessarily know if his production at Nebraska helped him or hurt him, but it's all about how you run. And he ran really, really well at Nebraska's pro day the other day. 4.43 in the 40, and he also had sub 7 seconds in the short shuttle. So those are exactly what you want and need from him. He's a very, very fluid route runner. He's got great body control. He's got adequate size to play in the NFL for sure. He's listed at 6'3", 190. He's probably more like 6'1 and a half. I've interviewed him in person. But he certainly has everything the NFL teams are looking for, from route running to football acumen to body control, ability to catch things in space. I think the biggest question, though, was what's he going to run when you put him on the clock? So 4.43, very good. Not a combine, official electronic time, but still it's better than 4.43 is good. And I think that it'll certainly help him get at least a little bit of recognition and attention from NFL scouts. And obviously doing it in Nebraska, almost all, if not every team, likely there. The guys from in-state I'm going to be looking at, and by the way, Montana State's pro day will be on April 4th. University of Montana, their pro day to be announced. They told me, I actually was talking down there with some of the people down there at the athletic department. They said they'd let people know here probably next week. So we'll have an announcement for you on that as well. But from the Grizz, I imagine probably Conlon Beaver and Dylan Cook, the two starting offensive tackles for Montana last year, will give a run at the pro day. Probably imagine Samuel Kim, wide receiver, will give a run at it as well. And he's an interesting one because he was an all-Big Sky guy as a sophomore and a junior, even though he battled a lot of injuries. And then his senior year, he had a decent year, but the struggles of the Grizz at quarterback, including Cam Humphrey going down with an injury, and then sort of that month long where they were just toiling on offense, that hurt Cam's production. He's a really interesting prospect because he's so raw and he's so athletic. Former track champion in the hurdles and the high jump from his time in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. So I'm just so interested to see how he tests. I mean, he could test straight out the box and then maybe get himself a free agent invite. We'll see, or maybe not. I don't really know. It really just comes down to how you run, how you move, and how you perform. Because Kem's still very raw in terms of his pass-catching ability. So we'll see. And those tackles, I don't know. It just depends on how they test as well. I think that those guys are probably on the outside looking in terms of NFL tackles. But they both had good careers in Montana. So durability, longevity, those things do help when it comes to offensive line play. So we'll see. We'll see how those guys do. And then, of course, the draw at Montana State's pro day is going to be Troy Anderson. But he ripped the doors off the combine, 38-inch vertical, 4.41 in the 40. So I actually don't expect him to probably do much besides just the movement drills, perform for the scouts, if he does anything at all. But the other guy that I think that has an opportunity to really thrust his way into the conversation and maybe climb some draft boards is Daniel Hardy. He's been training with some speed trainers out of state, and he's definitely been posting some videos that show that he's gained some strength and mass over the last several months. But he's also an incredibly explosive athlete. I mean, he posted a video the other day doing like 65-inch box jumps, and that correlates directly to explosion and speed. So I do think that in both the horizontal and vertical jumps, Hardy will be very good. I also expect him to run really well. And there's sort of this notion that maybe he doesn't have quite enough mass to be able to play at the next level, but I actually don't think that that's true either. I think that he definitely could. He definitely could play his way. If he runs well, I think he could play his way into, at the very least, a free agent invite and maybe even a NFL draft spot. A lot of the guys at Montana State, a lot of coaches think that Hardy could get drafted. So we'll see. Big days coming up for all of those various prospects with Montana ties. Oh, and also a text in from one of our listeners. Appreciate this. Matt O'Donohue will also perform in the pro day, of course. One of the most consistent long snappers in Grizz history and Big Sky Conference history, honestly. I was thinking about the other day, probably all things considered, probably the best long snapper I've ever covered in my 16 years covering the Big Sky. Never had a bad snap, not one time in his career, a multiple-time All-American. And he did it in a quiet fashion, but because he did it so diligently, That's why he's such a sort of has such a cult following, including our buddies over at the Grizz Fan Pod. So OD definitely be participating. He's probably not going to be running the 40. I mean, maybe he'll run the 40 for fun, but they're not going to care about that. They're just going to want to see his forward velocity, delivery time, all that. Hour 1 of the books, Hour 2 coming at you. Carolyn, the chick who doesn't know sports, makes her illustrious return here to Nuanez now. We'll also talk about some various athletes from around the state of Montana that are on their way to the collegiate level, and we'll give you real-time updates on the Sweet 16 and the NCAA men's basketball tournament. Give it right here. It's ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula.
Hey there, Colter Nuanez from Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Here with Tom. Window tinting is at an all-time high demand. So, Tom, how do people get a hold of you to get their car on the books at Aspen Sound?
Colter, well, at this time of year, we stay pretty busy with the window tints. So make sure just to give us a buzz, and we'll get you on the books. With the warm weather right around the corner, it's good to get in early rather than late.
Aspen Sound, located at 1300 West Broadway in Missoula.
Feel the music at Aspen Sound.
Part of the glory of building a business comes from leaving a legacy to ensure your business continues thriving into the future. Have you asked yourself lately, what is your plan? Forming a personalized business succession plan is essential to know the passion you put into your business will carry on. Nick Tabor at Westpac Wealth is here to help you navigate all your business succession and retirement planning needs. Give Nick a call at 728-6699 and keep the spirit of possibility vibrant while making your future more tax efficient with a personalized business succession and retirement plan for you.
It's time to gear up for spring sports and adventure at Bob Ward's. Save now on new gear for soccer, baseball, softball, tennis, and more. Hit the links with new golf apparel, clubs, bags, and more. Everything you need for any spring sports is in stock now, with more arriving daily at Bob Ward's. Grab the latest styles from top brands in the athletic department. Get technology and style in the newest footwear from Brooks, Hoka, Under Armour, and all your favorite brands. Even our camping and water sports department are stocked with new gear. Gear up at Bob Ward's. Sports and outdoors, Montana style.
Whether you're in the restaurant business or you just want to host any big event, J&V Restaurant Supply can make sure you have everything you need. J&V Restaurant Supply is your home for everything kitchen. Whether you're a bear or a bobcat, an eagle or a Scotty, J&V Restaurant has everything you might need. They have locations in Bozeman, Billings, and Great Falls. If you can't make it in, J&V also has a great website, jvrestaurant.com. Get everything you need for your next event at J&V, your restaurant specialists.
The Silver Slipper is the place to watch all the basketball madness this month. Monday through Friday happy hour from 5 to 7 p.m. Half off drinks, $1 off beer, and $1 off wine. There will be daily drink and food specials, plus the Silver Slipper Bracket Challenge with prizes for first through third place and a daily drawing for a gift card. Must be present to win. The Silver Slipper has over 55 TVs, so you won't miss a game. Head on down to the Silver Slipper, across from Walmart on Highway 93 in Missoula. The Silver Slipper is the place to watch all the basketball madness this month.
Here at Florence Coffee Co., we are proud to serve the finest flavors under the big sky, like our smooth and delectable cold brewed toddy coffee. Florence Coffee's fresh brewed toddy coffee is known for its low acidity and smooth flavor. Served over ice, add your favorite flavor or an iced coffee like no other. Try one today at any of our Flowco locations around Western Montana and visit us at florencecoffeeco.com.
Florence Coffee Company.
Not there for me, and I curse the sky and beg the sun to fall all over me. 'Cause life's not lived, baby, living ain't free. And if I can't find my way back to me, let the sun fall down over me. Let the sun fall down.
Sometimes I just go down these Google rabbit holes. When I listen to a band, I just wonder, what happened to those guys? Those guys were sweet. Little fuel for you on your Friday. Maybe you don't even remember them. They were only around for a couple albums, but they had a good run. Underrated band, for sure. Underrated late 90s band. We're into some late 90s alternative / like post-grunge today on Nuanez Now. Hope you're having a phenomenal Friday. Rolling into the evening, rolling into the weekend. We're doing it from down here at Brett's RV and Marine. It's the March Grand Design Sales Event. Absolutely the best time to buy a new RV at Brett's RV. They have factory discounts today and tomorrow at the Grand Design Sales Event. So act now, exclusive factory sale event, and it's only at Brett's RV and Marine today and tomorrow. You missed anything in the first hour of Nuanez Now? You can always find it on the Nuanez Now podcast. Second day in a row, we heard from Colby Dant from the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's the host of the College Basketball Experience and a college basketball expert. Breaking down the Sweet 16, we also heard from Melanie Michael, head coach of the Grizz softball team. And we talked some pro days, some of the guys participating for the Cats, the Grizz, maybe former Grizz like Samari Toure, what their pro prospects might be. You can find all of it on the Nuanez Now podcast, probably presented by Sportsbet Montana and the Advocates.
I'm trying to think of like the great returns in pop culture history. There's the one time Michael Jackson did the Pepsi commercial and then lit his hair on fire. Then he came back looking a little different. It's a bad example. Then there was the Beatles.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. I was trying to set this up with some sort of illustrious return.
It's a comeback.
Okay, so who's got the great comebacks ever?
Not Tom Brady.
Madonna going from like the MTV Music Awards in the pink dress to then coming back as like a leather-clad Vogue model. That was pretty
You're
good.
not even making sense.
I know. I'm just trying to be funny. Chicken Doesn't Know Sports, back in the saddle. We haven't seen Carolyn in a couple weeks, and she is now back with us, and happy for her to be here. Chicken Doesn't Know Sports presented by the AC Hotel. We got the AC Hotel gift cards as part of our bracket challenge. So keep those entries coming. Keep monitoring the entries. And if you're part of our second chance bracket, you will have the opportunity to earn a couple different $50 gift cards from the AC Hotel. What's up, Carolyn? How you doing?
Great. The sun's shining, and that's about all I got right now.
Well, I mean, in the time that it's been since we've done this segment last, all of your great subjects of interest have lit the world on fire, whether it's Tom Brady coming out of retirement or Aaron Rodgers getting more money than God.
It's almost like I wasn't supposed to be on the air those 2 weeks.
That's right. They just you needed more ammunition.
I needed time to process that information. I needed time to realize that the two biggest D-bags in football history aren't going away. So it was a lot. It was a lot. I went on a retreat. I meditated. And I still hate them both.
Do you think that part of it's our fault?
Like yours and mine?
No, like just society as a whole.
Yes.
Don't you think like the reason that these guys really are just like the most self-congratulatory people on the earth is because we make them like that?
No.
We glorify them so much, though.
Yeah, but no, those guys.
Don't you think that there would be like some doctors or lawyers or I don't know anythings?
Teachers?
Right. But okay, here's a great example though. If the greatest third grade teacher in the world was on SportsCenter for 6 hours a day, would they act different? And how much would that impact them being the greatest teacher in the world?
I mean, look at me. I'm on the air once a week, and my ego is in check. And I have a pretty big fan base. There's like 6 people. So, no. I mean, yes, of course, I think that does not help matters. But I think you can be humble.
You can. You certainly can.
I think you can retire when you're 1,000 years old. And, okay, I'm going to bring this back to television because I love TV so much. Jay Leno, he retired. He gave The Tonight Show to Conan. Conan moved from New York. He moved everybody to L.A., started the show, and Jay Leno had this 1 hour primetime show that bombed. So Jay Leno basically demanded to have his late night show back.
Yep.
Kicked Conan to the curb.
Yep.
And Jay Leno I used to love. I lost total respect for Jay Leno over that because I just thought, just retire. Just be done. You don't need to come back to late night just because your primetime show flopped. Just go drive your million cars and move on. I don't like that. I just think people need to just keep their ego in check. There's no reason for Tom Brady to unretire. That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Well, I think that the point is that there was actually no reason for him to retire.
Yes, there is.
But-
I have been saying this for years.
Well, but I think that what really happened is I think that Tom Brady watched football for the first time as a non-NFL player and realized that he couldn't walk away from the game.
I think Tom Brady spent 2 weeks with his children and was like, I do not want to spend all this time with these little monsters.
That's probably a
And
part
Giselle.
of it. That's probably a part of it. Chicken Does No Sports. Our good friend Carolyn here in studio with us, rolling through on a Friday. All right, what else you got besides the retirement, unretirement of your favorite guy?
Deshaun Watson.
Oh, buddy.
More like Deshaun, what the heck?
Yeah. I mean, this has been brewing for a long time. We haven't really touched much of it. There's so much that goes into all of this. Obviously, you have a whole bunch of women that have come forward that have speculated, implied, and tried to charge him with certain different things. He's in the midst of a civil lawsuit involving dozens of accusers. No one has levied any criminal charges. It's cost him, or I guess cost is the wrong word, but he has not played football in more than a year.
Now, has he not played football because of these charges?
Right.
But then he was signed
That's the biggest gray area is he was not suspended.
He just hasn't played.
Right.
Why?
That's a good question.
Okay.
That's the one that no one really knows the definitive answer to.
Was he on a team?
He was on the Houston Texans a year ago. They rendered him inactive.
So he wasn't making money.
He was making money. That's why this is such a weird gray area. He was never suspended. He never declared that he wasn't playing because of these reasons. The Texans never declared he wasn't playing because of these reasons. It was all just implied.
They were just keeping him on the down low,
Right.
to avoid media attention.
Right. And so then when this all came to a head recently, basically they came out and said they were not going to levy any criminal charges. That in itself is a bloody hornet's nest for sure, because there's so many different factors that go into that element of it as well.
20 women have filed.
I think 22 is the and the initial class action lawsuit involved 22, but I believe then 2 backed out of it and sort of then went on his defense.
Okay, that's odd. Now, he was just signed with Cleveland for an insane amount of money.
$240 million, every single dollar guaranteed. They also wrote the contract to then ensure that the suspension that is certainly coming, this is the other thing, is because there was no finality to the criminal element of it or ignition of the civil element of it, the NFL could not act. Now that there's been a decision made that there's no criminal element to this in terms of at least the court of the law, but there's a civil element, he is likely going to be suspended for personal misconduct, which is going to be a 6-game penalization, a 6-game suspension.
But still gets the money.
They wrote it in as a prorated first year of the contract. So Deshaun Watson will earn $1 million his first year, and then the rest of the $240 million comes, but every single dollar is guaranteed.
This is what we call in parenting rewarding bad behavior.
That's probably exactly right.
This makes me so angry.
It's quite a deal. It's definitely quite a deal because it's just a reaffirmation, it reaffirms what we knew all along, and that is that if you can still play football at a high level, you will play in the NFL. It literally does not matter what you do.
If you read the information on what he's accused of, this guy's a freak.
Yeah.
He is into some weird stuff, and I'm not here to kink shame.
He's into some weird stuff. That's why we haven't talked about this much on the show, because dancing the line of weird and kinky and illegal is such a tenuous one, particularly if you're not a lawyer. And, there's two sides of this, right? There's you're innocent until proven guilty, and if there is no criminal charges, there's nothing that you can be charged for. But on the other hand, there's also just the entire culture of sexual assault as it is, and the way that so often the victims are not believed, and so often they are not their truth is not brought to fruition, and so often when the perpetrator or accused is given the benefit of the doubt and the victims are not. So there's just so much gray area.
20 victims. It's not like it's just one lady or a couple people. I mean, 22.
Totally.
It's like the Bill Cosby thing. And then look, he's
Totally.
At home eating his pudding.
Right, I know. And that's why it's such a slippery slope, because on one hand you say, okay, where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's a lot of smoke here. 20 women is a lot. But you also couldn't extort someone for the amount of money they want to extort from Deshaun Watson unless you had that many people. So there's two sides to all of it. And I'm not defending Deshaun Watson. I'm not defending anything. I just think at the end of the day, the craziest part about this from a sports perspective is you remove all of the details of all of this nefarious behavior and you look at a guy who literally just sat out of the NFL for more than a season, and by sitting out was take all the indiscretions and off the field stuff off the table. The dude just sat out for more than a year and got the richest contract in the history of the league in terms of guaranteed money. That in itself is crazy.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you justify it, even if he had never been in a single ounce of trouble or bad
How
PR.
are they justifying it, or are they?
Well, they're the Cleveland Browns, so of course. I mean, they're the dumbest team in the world. They haven't had a good quarterback since when Cleveland moved from Cleveland to Baltimore and robbed the city of the franchise, but then the NFL realized that was such a bad idea, and so then they had an expansion version of the Browns. Since then, they haven't had a good quarterback. It's been 20-something years. This is kind of just is what they do.
So now they just hired a rapist. Cool. Awesome. Go Cleveland.
Yep. So we'll see. Here's going to be the part about it that's going to be so frustrating to people that are opposed and offended by this. Deshaun Watson's an excellent player. Deshaun Watson's one of the best players in the NFL when he's healthy and when he's on point. If he is then really good for Cleveland and he leads them on a deep playoff run, there's going to be a lot of people that are very up in arms about that.
Well, it's sort of like, not like, because I don't want to, I hate Aaron Rodgers, but he hasn't done this that I know of.
Sure.
But people will still, they don't care what kind of a jackhole you are.
That's right.
As long as you're performing. And that's just gross to me.
What if we didn't have talk radio and Sports Center and all this stuff, and we didn't know a single thing about any of these guys except for how they played football?
Well, we'd be out of work.
How much different? Well, you might be out of work. How much different would our perception be, though? Because this is my brother's stance. He says, I do not care what a single one of these guys does. I only want to gamble on them and play fantasy football and watch football on Sunday.
I mean, I get your point, but that's not the world we live in. So
I also wonder too, though. So much of this is a new phenomenon because of like the hyperactive exposure, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's been athletes with high egos for decades.
Of course.
We just used to glorify them unabashedly.
Right.
Michael Jordan could do no wrong.
Right.
He's an ultimate competitor. That's why he stays out in Atlantic City till 4 a.m. You know,
he's not a gambling addict. He's just a competitor.
He's just a competitor.
Yeah,
exactly.
Simple.
He's not a compulsive gambler. His eyes aren't yellow from smoking cigars until 4 a.m. all the time.
I thought that was like liver cirrhosis or something.
Who knows? Now we're really down the slippery slope.
All right, anyway.
Regardless, Deshaun Watson getting that amount of money for not playing is crazy, and then you add in all the other stuff on top of it. Definitely an interesting deal. Chicken Knows No Sports, ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. What else you got?
All right, so the Arizona Wildcats won some basketball game last week. I don't know. I've been out of town, but Benedict Matherin.
Yep, from Arizona.
From Arizona, yes.
Watched him live on Sunday night. Watched him have one of the biggest dunks I've ever seen in a college basketball game.
Well, he took a bow at the end of the game and accidentally grazed a TCU cheerleader's chest.
Yeah, this was the uncalled foul of the tournament, as
now,
Twitter was calling it.
His wingspan is probably the size of this room.
Oh yeah, he's 6'6", and he has very long arms.
I reviewed the video several times from various angles just so I could have, so I could be well versed in this, and it's definitely looked accidental because he didn't go like honk honk or anything like that. You're not even listening.
I'm totally listening.
That was funny. You're not even listening.
I don't know. I mean, I'm scared of being. I don't know. We're talking about so many tenuous things today.
Jeez, it's like pay attention.
I don't know.
Would you like me to do that joke again?
No.
Anyway,
it's a honk honk.
As a woman, it's happened where you get a graze and it's an accident, and
sure.
It just is what it is. This sweet boy is Canadian, and like a good Canadian, he's trying to apologize and say sorry to this cheerleader. And he's trying to, I think he emailed her, and maybe they'll start dating. You never know. This could be like a great love story.
It could be. He's going to be a really rich man very soon because he's going to definitely be a top 10 pick in the draft next year.
Well, he felt really bad about it, and I mean, he got called out on it. which is so ridiculous.
Speaking of Canadian basketball players, for a long time, so like during the 70s and 80s, the two cities that were producing the most NBA players were New York and Chicago. That makes sense just because of sort of the old school nature of the cities and all the blacktop basketball that exists there. Then in the 21st century, it's largely been Seattle has had the most players in the NBA from that metropolitan area. Well, now it's been taken over by Toronto. Did you know this?
No, I didn't.
Have you ever
That's where I
spent
was
time?
born.
You were born in Toronto?
Yeah.
Is Toronto as cool as people say it is?
I mean, I haven't been there since I was like 4, but sure. No, it's cool. I mean, it's cool. I was just in Calgary, and that's a pretty cool city too.
Toronto is just so interesting because like where it hangs down, it's like should be in America, but it's not. It's like a Canadian city.
So people a lot of times, because the drinking age was 18 or is 18 there, I know a lot of people would drive up there like in college if you went to school in like Illinois or Michigan or whatever.
Yeah.
And so you could go booze there. Kind of like when I used to go to Tijuana.
I almost stayed in TJ.
Forever?
No, this last
did you go to
year.
jail?
No, they wouldn't let me. I was trying to stay there for the NCAA tournament, but everybody I was with was like, we don't want to go back and forth over the border every day.
Oh, you mean you wanted to, when you were down in San Diego,
Yeah.
you wanted, no, no one stays in TJ.
Why?
Oh my God.
It was so cheap.
Yeah. You don't come back. You don't come back.
Well, that would have been nice. I could have hung.
No, I don't mean it in a good way. I mean it like you're beheaded.
Nuanez now, ESPN Radio, as well as SWX by 10 Television. Chicken Doesn't Know Sports. Our good friend Carolyn in the studio, honking it up. What else you got?
So this basketball talk, I totally forgot a couple weeks ago while you were gone and I was gone. I read the rules for basketball in North Korea, and they are bonkers. And then I was playing a little
rules for basketball in North Korea.
North Korean basketball, led by our Dennis Rodman, I believe. But
I believe Dennis Rodman was one of the first Americans that got to go to North Korea to visit the great leader.
So I remembered this because yesterday I was playing a little one-on-one with Nick, and his basketball rules were very close to the North Korea rules.
Okay.
So I was going to kind of go through these unusual basketball rules in North Korea. Slam dunks are worth 3 points.
Okay.
Hold on. 3-point shots are awarded 4 points if the ball does not touch the rim. So if it's a swoosh.
Sure.
Which yesterday Nick told me if I swish, I get 3 points. But I think he just wanted to be done with the game because I was beating him. Humble brag. Okay. 1 point is deducted for every missed free throw.
Okay.
Any field goal made in the last 3 seconds of the game is given 8 points.
Okay.
Why are they calling it a field goal?
That's what it is.
I thought it was a basket.
Yeah, it's a made field goal. You shoot field goals in basketball as well. Field goal shooting percentage.
Had no idea.
3-point field goal percentage.
Games can end in a tie.
This is Nick's rules.
No, this is North Korea rules.
Okay.
Same thing. But yeah, no, these are the North Korea rules.
Wow.
So, and Nick's rules. It's
This is taken off in North Korea. People are grooving to this. They're loving it.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not there, but I think so.
We'll never know.
Listen, I just heard about it, and then I remembered it yesterday when I was playing with Nick, and I was like, this is oddly familiar to North Korea. And then I just looked it up. You're welcome.
Well, very good. Very cool. I kind of love it. Okay, what else you got?
All right. Naomi Osaka played in Indian Wells last week. And
another one of her contemporaries who was number 1 in the world. She's only like 24 years old. She retired the other day.
Really?
Similar deal. Doesn't like the pressure. Doesn't like the exposure.
Well, here's something interesting. She was being heckled at a tennis tournament, and people were yelling, "You suck." And I'm sorry. What happened to tennis etiquette?
Right.
I am so disgusted because you do not act that way, well, at all. I mean, I hate heckling, although I've done it. But I don't like heckling. But tennis, I mean, we're supposed to have our special clap, and you sit quietly.
Why do people think she sucks?
That's a great question. I'd like her to take them out on the court and see how they do.
Right.
Anyway, she called out some hecklers at the tournament. At the end of the tournament, she got on the microphone and made
She
a
did.
comment. Yep. And then she is seeking therapy because that is a lot of pressure. And, that's just, I can't even imagine the poor girl, what that must feel like.
Yeah, I'm so Naomi Osaka is such a unique character because on one hand, I think that all of the visibility she's bringing to self-help and mental health and all this sort of stuff is good, but then I also think that sometimes she's way oversensitive. I don't really know.
I think if someone yelled "you suck" to you while you're playing your sport that you definitely don't suck at, I think that would take its toll.
Or maybe you could use it as motivation.
Listen, some people have actual emotions and hearts, unlike you.
Well, right, but then like the greatest athletes don't. That's the whole point.
Well, she's seeking therapy, so hopefully we'll
like,
see her back on the
It's
court.
like when Michael Jordan used to feel slighted by anybody, and then he'd like take them when they play them next. He'd just go score 60 out of them.
And then he'd hit the casino after.
That's right. Well, I hope Naomi Osaka finds her centering of her soul, because I think that she's good for tennis because she's a tremendous player, and I think that her outspoken personality is good for sports in general. So
yeah,
hopefully she finds her way.
All right, I have one last little story. I was in Canada last week, and my brother and I were in like a cute little Canadian pub watching the Flames.
Very nice.
And I mean, it was an intense game, 0-0, and it was like in a overtime. And the goalie comes out of the goalie box to get the puck, and he slips obviously on ice, and then the other team gets it in and wins 1-0. Game's over. And I just wanted to hug that goalie. Like, I just wanted to give him like a big mom hug and be like, it's okay. And I wanted to say sorry. And then the best part was he gets out, he's skating, and he takes his stick and just bashes it against the wall.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I know. I've been there. I used to do that with tennis rackets. But I still wanted to give him a big mom hug. I felt bad. And all the people in the bar were yelling, and I was like, leave him alone.
I think you're too sensitive on behalf of these athletes.
I know.
Channeling the disappointment of your failures is the key to success.
I know, but I can't. I hate when I see people hurting.
Well, I mean.
And I know, like, I can't even imagine how bad he felt.
Well, it's part of it though, right?
And as a mom of a soccer goalie, my heart can't take it.
Well, disappointments are what makes us stronger.
This is true.
Surprised you didn't talk about transgender swimming on this.
I didn't know if we had time.
Yeah, I don't know even what I think of all of it. Here's what I think of. Here's my last take, and I know that this has been blowing up social media. We're not going to go down the road of the transgender swimmer who won the national championship individually. Here's what I would say more than anything. I have seen a variety of sports outlets covering that story with outrage and just so passionately. Those same outlets don't cover women's sports at all.
Interesting take.
That's the thing that drives me nuts, is you can say whatever you want about the nuances of this specific situation. But if the only thing you're going to cover is the outrage of this and not actually cover college women's swimming, I don't really have any place in the argument for you.
Right.
What do we talk about on the show this last week when it came to the national championship swim meets? Not that.
No.
We talked about Catherine Burkhoff, the young lady from Missoula Hellgate, who's swimming at North Carolina State, who had the fastest backstroke time by an American ever. In the 100-yard backstroke, she swam the fastest time ever.
That's awesome.
By an American from Missoula. So super cool. It's the same thing. If you're going to cover it, you got to cover all the sports. You can't just cover the outrageous and salacious and all the clickbait BS that everybody's trying to do these days.
Well, it's a controversy, and they know what people. It's got people up in arms, and it's got some people not up in arms, and I don't know the answer. I wish I believe 100% in trans rights and everybody's rights and all of those things. I don't know what the answer is in this. This is such a tough call.
They're also not telling the full story, because there's this whole story about how this young lady won a national championship and her advantages. We're not here to debate that. She also swam in 3 other events and did not make the podium.
Interesting.
What about the girls that beat her?
Right.
Those are worth covering. I don't know. I think there's a lot here, and as always, the national media is missing the mark.
Well, I don't know.
Good job talking about a variety of controversial things without getting us in trouble today, Carolyn.
Except the honking.
Well, the honking's fine. I don't know. I don't know if we can say all the words you say about Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, but here we are. But regardless, thank you so much for joining us. Two Does No Sports. We do this every Friday here on Nuanez now. It's presented by the AC Hotel. Usually we have AC Hotel vouchers to go get some craft cocktails, but not right now because this month, 2 $50 gift cards to the AC Hotel as part of our bracket challenge and our second chance bracket challenge. So if you're entered in the NCAA tournament, hopefully your bracket's doing well. If you had a chance to enter in the second chance challenge, that means you're entered to win these 2 $50 gift cards from the AC Hotel. Appreciate them for being the presenting sponsors of Chick Who Doesn't Know Sports. Thanks for being here, Carolyn.
Thank you.
It's International Peacock Day. Don't look now. There's still 28 minutes left in the game. But St. Peter's, the Cinderella of the NCAA tournament so far on the men's side, leads Purdue 18-17, 8:34 left in the first half. We'll give you full updates on what's going on around the NCAA tournament. And I went through a database and found, a couple dozen worth noting high school athletes from the state of Montana that are taking their talents to the next level that maybe you haven't heard about or haven't seen reported. Keep it right here. More on high school to college and the NCAA tournament. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. Help keep Missoula green by recycling your latex paint at Garden City Paint and Glass. Bring in your old latex paint where it will be weighed, packaged, and shipped to the recycling plant for a small fee. While you're there, discover Garden City's exclusive line of eco-friendly products from Dunn Edwards, a company with the only green LEED certified paint manufacturing facility in the world. Come see why Dunn Edwards paints have a legacy and a greener future at Garden City Paint and Glass. Keep the Garden City green, 3217 Brooks.
Hey there, Colter Nuanez from Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Here with Tom. Window tinting is at an all-time high demand. So, Tom, how do people get a hold of you to get their car on the books at Aspen Sound?
Colter, well, at this time of year, we stay pretty busy with the window tints, so make sure just to give us a buzz, and we'll get you on the books. With the warm weather right around the corner, it's good to get in early rather than late.
Aspen Sound, located at 1300 West Broadway in Missoula.
Feel the music at Aspen Sound.
Open your new Stockman Bank account anytime, anywhere with online account opening. Now, you can open an account in minutes on your laptop, tablet, or mobile phone. It's convenient, simple, and secure. Open your new account today at stockmanbank.com. Then, add our online and mobile banking services so you can manage your money when, where, and how you want. Stockman Bank, Montana's brand of banking. Member FDIC.
Have you ever worried if you're up to snuff in the bedroom? Are you looking to skip the waiting lines in the admission at the pharmacy? Do you want effective male enhancement delivered right to your door? Palmer's Drug of Missoula has you covered. All you need is a prescription from a doctor and a home address for Palmer's Drug to ship to. If you want to improve your love life and get right in the bedroom, all while keeping it discreet, look into home delivery through Palmer's Drug. Palmer's Drug, your trusted local pharmacy in Missoula.
As the seasons change in Montana, it's critical to make sure your vehicle is in full working order. And that's why now is the time to take your rig to Crawford's Automotive. Crawford's Auto on West Broadway does any work you need on any vehicle you have. To make sure you're running soundly, take it to Crawford's Automotive. Get your brakes checked or replaced at Crawford's, and the job will be done right every time with Chase Crawford personally doing the work on your vehicle. Take your cars and trucks to someone you can trust. For all your automotive needs, it's Crawford's Automotive on West Broadway.
Whether you're in the restaurant business or you just want to host any big event, J&V Restaurant Supply can make sure you have everything you need. J&V Restaurant Supply is your home for everything kitchen. Whether you're a bear or a bobcat, an eagle or a Scotty, J&V Restaurant has everything you might need. They have locations in Bozeman, Billings, and Great Falls. If you can't make it in, J&V also has a great website, jvrestaurant.com. Get everything you need for your next event at J&V, your restaurant specialists.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Two of the best from the West were knocked out on the first night of the Sweet 16. Hello, I am Coulter Nuanez. The beginning of the regionals for the NCAA men's basketball tournament began Thursday. Top-seeded Gonzaga, the betting favorite to win the national championship entering the big dance, could not handle the speed and athleticism of Arkansas, falling to the fourth-seeded Razorbacks 74-68. Just a few hours later, Arizona, the number one seed in the South region, fell to Kelvin Sampson's Houston Cougars 72-60, meaning that the two pre-tournament betting favorites have been eliminated from the field in the round of 16. Sampson started his career as the head coach at Montana Tech in Butte back in the 1970s. Thursday's other NCAA tournament results included second-seeded Villanova ending number 11 Michigan's run 63-55, and Mike Krzyzewski's last dance continues at Duke as the Blue Devils outlasted Texas Tech 78-73. Montana State's men's head basketball coach Danny Sprinkle was announced on Monday as a finalist for the Hugh Durham Award given to the top mid-major coach in college basketball. Sprinkle was the 2022 Big Sky Conference Coach of the Year after leading the Bobcats to their first outright Big Sky Conference championship in 20 years and their first NCAA tournament appearance since 1996. And finally, former All-American Grizz receiver Samari Toure participated in Nebraska's Pro Day earlier this week. Among his standout marks included running 4.43 seconds in the 40-yard dash.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is brought to you by Selway Armory.
What's up, Montana? Welcome back. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. It's International Peacock Day. St. Peter's, the Peacocks, the 15 seed, only the third 15 seed ever to make it to the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament. They lead Purdue 23-19. Oh, Purdue hits a three, so 23-22 right now. 6:39 left in the first half. The Providence-Kansas game has tipped as well. About 6 minutes in, a slugfest so far. Kansas up 6-4. Top-seeded Kansas, the last number one seed remaining after both Gonzaga and Arizona got knocked out yesterday. And the nightcap tonight, actually two nightcaps tonight, they feature North Carolina against UCLA and Iowa State versus Miami. Nuanez now coming to you from Brett's RV and Marine. It's the Brett's RV and Marine March Grand Design Sales Event. Right now, the absolute best time to buy a new RV at Brett's RV and Marine for 3 days only. That's including yesterday. So just today and tomorrow. We'll be here for about 20 more minutes to about 6 o'clock. And you can swing by anytime this evening or into tomorrow as well. They're open till 7 o'clock tonight, and then they're open all day tomorrow as well. The Grand Design Sales Event is now on. You can get factory discount prices only at Brett's RV and Marine, 4800 Grant Creek Road. So swing on by, say what's up, stop in, maybe say what's up to us, or check out these beautiful Grand Design RVs starting at $29,995. You can get savings up to almost $25,000. That's right. Their fifth wheel series between $18,000 and $25,000 worth of savings. So great discounts. It's the best sale of the year here at Brett's RV and Marine. So come swing by. 4800 Grant Creek Road. We talk a lot of high school sports here at Nuanez Now. We love highlighting the best around the Treasure State when it comes to high school sports. We also love following the kids as they go off to college. A lot of times, it's so interesting to me because Montana produces a ton of college-level athletes, and so often the ones that stay in state, they keep getting covered, and they get all sorts of spotlight. But sometimes ones that come from out of state, or go out of state, they don't get covered as well, even if they're going like big-time places. So we like to highlight those, and so basically all the way around, we've had a whole bunch of different athletes join us throughout this academic year. And so I was going through this cool database that 406MT Sports has. It's all about all the places that kids are going to college. And so I picked out just a few names from kids that we maybe talked about, or maybe some subjects that I hadn't really even heard of or followed either. I thought was impressive and worth sharing. Maybe you haven't heard it or it hasn't been reported, whatever it might be. So here's a look at some of the kids from around the state of Montana that are going to cool places, impressive places, or maybe places that you just didn't really know yet. The first guy I point to is Trayton Anderson. He's a senior at Beaverhead County High School in Dillon. He's going to go run track at BYU, so very cool. Heading to BYU, which is in transition and soon to be a Power 5, so that's big time for him. Another one, we talked about the Billings Skyview girls basketball team quite a bit. Earlier this, I guess it was last week, the Class AA state champions for the first time ever. One of the standout seniors on that team, Brooke Berry. She's going to New Mexico to play basketball. That's interesting. Very rare. I can't ever remember somebody from Montana going to New Mexico to play basketball, but that's cool. That's a big-time program, so good for her, Brooke Berry, for Billings Skyview heading to New Mexico. Another interesting one. I think we mentioned this, maybe grazed over it, because I think he committed actually last summer during his heading into his senior year. But Brock Blatter, who is a Billings Central student, but a Billings Scarlets standout pitcher, he's heading to Alabama. That's right, the Alabama Crimson Tide to play baseball. So very cool. Brock Blatter from Billings Central heading to Alabama to play baseball, pitch in the SEC. Alyssa Beauchart from Big Timber. She was a track champion. And Big Timber's had great sports on both the girls and boys side the last couple of years. It's funny how the ebbs and flows of small towns in Montana. But Alyssa Beauchart, she signed with Montana State to run track there in Bozeman earlier this year, so that's very cool. And a couple guys that we've talked about on this show a couple times because of Hamilton's great exploits in both cross country and track and field, Lane Cole and Coulter Kirkland, two of those guys that were on the state champion cross country team. And we'll have Hamilton in the mix again, absolutely, for the Class A state title. They both signed with the Grizz to run track recently, so congratulations to those two young guys from down the Bitterroot Valley. A couple others in-state, Chris Chudovitsky at the University of Montana, the women's soccer coach, he likes to recruit in-state, but he also has sort of a Northwestern and even all-Western United States profile. And they have several Montana girls, but they signed a couple this year, including Ashlyn Dvorak from Billings West. She was one of the best players in the state. She's headed to University of Montana to play soccer. A couple recent signees from the Sentinel track team that caught my eye. Chase Green from Sentinel, outstanding distance runner. He's headed to Utah State to run track. And Colin Shoutless from Sentinel, he's going to stay home. He's going to be part of the Grizz track program. So a couple guys that should have Sentinel in the mix for as they chase their third state championship in the last 4 years on the boys' side. Those two guys college bound. Macy Greenwood, the defending Class A state champion in girls golf, she's headed to Boise State to play golf. So very cool. That's very big time for her. Drake Rhodes, a senior at Billings West, he's headed to Iowa to wrestle. So that's huge. I mean, Iowa is one of the best programs, period, in all of college wrestling. So very impressive for Drake Rhodes. Kirsten Van Kirk, who was one of the best players on Manhattan Christian's Class C state title volleyball teams, she's heading to Boise State to play volleyball. So we got a couple kids from Montana heading on over to Boise State. So cool for Class C kids to get looks in the Mountain West. Malachi Simpson, a guy from Billings Senior who we talked about on this show, I thought he might be one of the top football recruits in the state, given his speed and size, but he's going to keep it on the track. He'll flirt with the 100-meter record in the state of Montana, the all-class 100 record this year during this spring season. So keep an eye on that, but he's headed to North Dakota State to run track. So that's impressive. That's cool. And I always love when guys choose to pursue track, because sometimes the allure of college football, it's great, but sometimes it's maybe your best or highest upside would be on the track. And if you're an all-class record holder in the sprints, I'd say that you're pretty darn good at track. So cool for Malachi Simpson heading to Fargo to run track at NDSU. And then the last couple I'll highlight, a couple ladies from the Helena High cross-country and track teams who we've talked about quite a bit. Kylie Hartnett and Odessa Zentz. Both these young ladies have been pushing the envelope in the distance running for quite some time now. They've both been standouts since they were freshmen, and now they're seniors. And Kylie Hartnett, she will head to Utah to run track. And Odessa Zentz, she's going to Northern Arizona, one of the premier track and field programs, not just in the Big Sky, not just in the Mountain West region, but in the United States of America. The Lumberjacks have a dynasty when it comes to distance running down there. So impressive for both those Helena High products heading that way as well. We'll be launching our Senior Spotlight Series next month, highlighting some of the best seniors, boys and girl athletes from around the state of Montana at the prep level. So stay tuned for that. One of our favorite things that we do. And we'll keep you apprised of any news that we do here as far as kids from the Treasure State headed to college, whether it's in-state or elsewhere. So very cool. If you have any that you know of that maybe we haven't talked about or touched on, or you want us to touch on again, you can always text in those names as well, 406-888-1029. That's 888-1029. The Sweet 16 rolls on right now. Purdue up 29-27. 3 minutes to go in the first half against St. Peter's. That's the third-seeded Boilermakers looking for their 30th win of the year against the 15th-seeded Peacocks of St. Peter's. And they're in the mix. It's International Peacock Day, and they seem to be channeling the magic, hanging at least with the Boilermakers. And in the other game, Kansas up 13-6 about midway through the first half over Providence. The Brett's RV and Marine March Grand Design Sales Event, it marches on. We'll be down here for a couple more minutes, but they'll be open until 7 tonight and open all day tomorrow as well. Come check out their awesome factory discount prices at the Grand Design Sales Event right now, Brett's RV and Marine. Nuanez now rolls on. We'll get you all set up for what's coming up next week. Keep it right here, ESPN Radio.
Here at Florence Coffee Co., we are proud to serve the finest flavors under the big sky, like our smooth and delectable cold brewed toddy coffee. Florence Coffee's fresh brewed toddy coffee is known for its low acidity and smooth flavor. Served over ice, add your favorite flavor or an iced coffee like no other. Try one today at any of our Floco locations around Western Montana and visit us at florencecoffeeco.com.
Florence Coffee Company.
I'm all about keeping my family driving safe. Dad, pothole.
Got it.
So I insist we choose Les Schwab tires for safety services like brakes, steering, and alignment. Stuff those cheap tire centers don't offer. Because I want a backseat drive with confidence. Dad, speed check.
At the Les Schwab Spring Tire Sale, save up to $150 when you buy select tires with financing. Les Schwab Tires, celebrating 70 years of doing the right thing. Limited time offer. Terms and conditions apply. See leschwab.com/sale for details.
It's time to gear up for spring sports and adventure at Bob Ward's. Save now on new gear for soccer, baseball, softball, tennis, and more. Hit the links with new golf apparel, clubs, bags, and more. Everything you need for any spring sports is in stock now, with more arriving daily at Bob Ward's. Grab the latest styles from top brands in the athletic department. Get technology and style in the newest footwear from Brooks, Hoka, Under Armour, and all your favorite brands. Even our camping and water sports department are stocked with new gear. Gear up at Bob Ward's. Sports and outdoors, Montana style.
March into savings with Northwest Motorsports Markdown Madness. We're adjusting prices every day on the largest inventory of diesel trucks, lifted trucks, and adventure-ready SUVs. So check them out at nwmsrocks.com. We're bringing special APRs to Montana all March long. That's right, special APRs all month long. Don't let the greatest selection pass you by. Get a truckload of savings on the greatest selection of trucks, and more trucks at Northwest Motorsport.
The world of real estate is always evolving. That's more true now than ever. If you are a longtime Missoulian that is looking to upgrade or downsize, it might be the best time yet to sell. If you're in the position to buy something new, today might be the best time to buy. And no matter what questions you have when it comes to residential or commercial real estate, Mike Nugent and the professionals at Berkshire Hathaway in Missoula have your answers. To find out what Mike can do for you, give him a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
You hear the term small business all the time, but what does it mean? The answer is, it depends. Whether you're a one-woman show or employ over 100 people, at Farmer State Bank, your business is never small to us. Find the tools for success at any Farmer State Bank location or check us out online at farmersebank.com. Farmer State Bank, helping businesses succeed since 1907. Member FDIC.
This is Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
What up, Montana? Welcome back. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, as well as SWX Montana Television. Thanks so much for kicking it with us here on a Friday. We're coming to you through the Northwest Motorsports Studio, but we're not there because we're here on the sales floor. Brett's RV and Marine. It's the March Grand Design Sales Event. Right now is the absolute best time to buy a new RV at Brett's RV and Marine. For 3 days only, receive exclusive factory discounts. You can get it today and tomorrow. They'll be open until 7 p.m. tonight, and then rolling into tomorrow, you can come check out amazing prices on their Grand Design RV series, starting at $29,995. You can save up to almost $25,000, especially on their fifth wheels. They pay top dollar for all trade-ins, whether you're paid for or not. And they also have special lender financing. This is a sale you do not want to miss. So if you have some time this evening, or maybe you need something to do tomorrow, swing on down. Brett's RV and Marine, 4800 Grant Creek Road in Missoula. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. A fun show. Colby Dant from the College Sports Podcast Network, the co-host of the College Basketball Experience. He joined us to break down the Sweet 16 games. We also heard from Melanie Michael from the Grizz softball team. We also broke down some pro day stuff. A text from a listener, by the way, mentioned Gavin Robertson, University of Montana safety. He'll probably be participating in the pro day, and that's accurate. He'll definitely at least try to get a shot in the NFL. We also talked some Montana athletes at the prep level that are going to the collegiate level all over the country. And we heard from Carolyn, the Chick Who Doesn't Know Sports. You can find everything on the Nuanez Now podcast. Proudly presented by the Advocates as well as Sportsbet Montana. We'll be back at it at 4 p.m. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Head on down to Brett's this evening or tomorrow if you want to check out this awesome sale that they got going on. And we'll see you back here 4 p.m. on Monday. Thanks so much for listening. This has been Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio.
Hey there, Colter Nuanez from Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Missoula.